our international affairs commentator Shamsulalam Pantho, because he always keep his eyes on international news, breaking stories, news trending, and of course news ranking. Sir, would you please put your introductory and input you want to discuss your today's show?
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Kanchan, for introducing me into the program. I want to welcome Professor Rashid Alam in the studio, as well as Norman Floyd Barnes, who joins us through Zoom from Washington, D.C. So the things that I have picked out today, I will say that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he's ready to hold a presidential election within 60 to 90 days if security and legal conditions are ensured, urging the U.S. and European partners to help create such an environment needed for a wartime vote. This is important as it came right after U.S. President Donald Trump publicly raised the issue. So once again, we will understand whether the people of Ukraine still have a favor for the current president Volodymyr Zelensky. That is one of the issue. On the other hand, we have U.S. Ambassador to Turkey Tom Barrack saying that Washington is engaged in ongoing discussions with Ankara on its bid to rejoin the F-35 fighter jet program, expressing hope for a breakthrough. While in comparison, Bangladesh is still looking forward to the Eurofighter Typhoon. I do not know why. This is the comparison between Bangladesh and Ankara and the other powers. And of course, I must say this, that Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has banned social media for those under the age of 16. The implication include that when these teenagers become on the adult age, or when they are 18, they will have, they certainly won't be voting for this current Prime Minister.
Russia invaded Ukraine. Question is, given recent Russian attacks, is a ceasefire or negotiated peace realistically achievable? And I want to do a back-to-back question. Should Ukrainian consider territorial concessions under a peace deal proposed by the United States? What are the risks behind?
Thank you so much for the question, and coming to me with Ukraine and Russia. One must understand that, as I was saying earlier, Volodymyr Zelensky is looking forward to a vote in no less than 60 to 90 days. This will have two effects. One, he will understand whether or not the people of Ukraine still support this war that is ongoing with Russia. 3.5 years is a very long time for a war to be continuing. If you look at your first aspect of the question, ceasefire, and what are the negotiated peace terms, or is there a negotiated peace? There has been 2 rounds of prisoner exchanges between the two nations, and of course that has not happened, but Turkey has helped these negotiations go forward before the U.S. has officially joined in this ceasefire agreement. But no such agreement is still stopping the Russian war machine. As we all know, that Vladimir Putin, leader of Russia, has said that he will continue to fight with every means necessary to take the Donbas region. This is a region of the eastern flank of Ukraine. We understand that much of that zone has been taken over by the military might of the Russian military regime. But if you want to understand the citizens' voice after the 3.5 years, with 20,000 children displaced, many Ukrainians spread all over Europe, this internal migration crisis inside the various states that surround Ukraine, all of this target to a point where the leadership of Ukraine should understand that, okay, it is time to concede defeat. It is time to let go of my eastern flank for the betterment of whatever I have. What is the opportunity cost? Or does the Ukrainian people understand what opportunity cost is in a larger geopolitical arena? It is Russia they are fighting against. It is not some island nation or some neighboring nation that they can actually have a chance at winning. So if you come back to the negotiated peace question that you have asked me, we must understand the U.S. position. U.S. has immediately released this 19-point charter that says that Russia is to maintain a lot of agreements. They are not going to attack any furthermore inside the Ukrainian border. That's a direct message saying, Ukraine, it is enough. You must concede defeat and let go of your eastern flank. These are the messages that I believe Volodymyr Zelensky is trying to ignore.
The Supreme Court of the United States signaled it may soon grant the president broader power to fire heads of the independent federal agencies, a move that could reshape U.S. governance. We will take the concluding comment from Norman, but first I want to go to you, sir. do you think Supreme Court can do this finally, because the dominance of Donald Trump is ugly?
Thanks for the question. Well, of course, Donald Trump does represent the GOP or the Republican Party. And at this moment, he has been having a very complicated relationship with the Supreme Courts. Back when Joe Biden was there as the 46th president, there was a time when Donald Trump was facing these courts, facing all the accusations of alleged crimes, if you would call it. But if you go back, the BBC documentary that he had filed a law case over, it was misrepresented. The people of the common Americans thought that he is the one who incited a violent raid on the Capitol building. But it wasn't so, and that was proven when he came back as the 47th president of the United States. And not only so, US President Donald Trump will begin the final round of interviews this week to select the next chairman of the Federal Reserve, according to the Financial Times. So once again, he does have the capacity to appoint his loyalists in positions of severe governmental control, one of them being the federal chair. So once again, yes, there is a complicated relationship between US President Donald Trump and the courts. There are some issues I would like to mention for our viewers here. One of them include the tariff package for almost 70 or more economies of the world. Whether or not his strikes via Pete Hegseth, the Ministry of Defense, Ministry of War, on these boats in the Caribbean, whether that is legally correct for the United States of America to do. These are all the questions that we'll be answering later in this year.
What is the outcome of this ceasefire? I want to do this question to someone who from beginning is telling that this is a fragile ceasefire. Sir, with that I want to do a question, as Professor Rashid has said, demarcation issue, yellow line. Should the demarcation line suggested in the ceasefire deal be accepted as a permanent border, and what would be the consequences?
Well, thank you so much for bringing this issue. Let me give some of the key developments that are happening as of today. The death toll now stands at 70,365, those who have been perished from the Palestinian side, includes women and children as usual. But Hamas has said that the next phase of the truce agreed in October cannot proceed as long as the Israeli Defense Forces, the IDF, continues to commit what Hamas calls a violation of the ceasefire. Over the last 50 days, we've seen almost 400 deaths, courtesy of the IDF. So Hamas has urged the mediating countries to pressure Israel to fully implement the first phase of the ceasefire agreement. I have been commenting the fact that this ceasefire is very fragile. It does not have any conditions. And of course, there is not an Israeli media coming out or the IDF coming out in a joint statement that their soldiers are committing suicide because of the gruesomeness of the acts they have done in participating in this genocide. Many of the international media outlets have said that these soldiers are committing suicide because they are not being able to handle the fact of the gruesome killing that they have committed. So this is one more issue. And of course, if you look back into this war, Muslims often celebrate Ramadan, a time of prosperity in which you fast, you do not eat in the devotion of your religion. Right. That very time, Israel had blocked all kind of aid into the Palestinian Strip. How more gruesome can they become? They completely understand the fact that it is Ramadan, is a month of blessing for the Muslims. Of course, these are not just so. The UNICEF say that, as you were saying, almost 10,000 children are hospitalized for acute malnutrition. So these are not being looked after, because we understand that the ceasefire is not really a ceasefire. Calling it a ceasefire would be wrong. There is not a statement by the IDF that says we are going to stop any kind of atrocities toward the Palestinians.
Omori, Japan, it triggered tsunami warnings, injured dozens, disrupted rail and power services, and promoted a rare megaquake alert for the region, raising fears for a larger quake soon. I want to draw the attention of our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Panto, who has huge interest on climate change, biodiversity, and on these issues also. Sir, Bangladesh is also at high risk. What you want to say, how to be cautious and how to save human life?
Thank you so much, Mr. Kanchan, for bringing me the topic of climate change. If you look at Bangladesh, we are the most affected nation, whether it be flooding, whether it be drought, whether it be earthquakes. Thank God there is not a volcano in our country. That's the least I could say. But recently in Japan, we have seen an earthquake of 7.6 initially magnitude earthquake that has it has shaken the community there. Japan is situated in the Pacific Ring of Fire. It is a nation that is more prone than Bangladesh facing earthquakes and tsunamis. But the damage has not extended. The tsunami warning was initially there, but the Japanese are preparing for a bigger earthquake in due time. Similarly, in Bangladesh, we've had an earthquake that was epicentered very close to the heart of the capital, Dhaka city. It was in Narshindi. That's not more than 30 kilometers away from where we are situated. It was scary nonetheless, and there has been aftershocks of a lesser magnitude. But that does not say that it will not happen again. It will. What we can do to prevent such a massive scale damage, we can have a government funded app. We can have more sensors, more observatories around the nation just to understand, even if those initial 5-second, 10-second detection periods will be important to save thousands of lives. The Japanese have adopted this theory. They have used innovation and science in a way to just buy them these 10 seconds or 5 seconds of important crucial time so that one can get themselves out of harm's way. So, these are of course things that any government now or in the future should actually think about.
Shamsulam Pantho, sir, I don't have any question to you, but honestly I want your take on this particular issue because Professor Rashid has cleared so many things.
Thank you so much. I will throw some examples for those who is viewing us on the TV screens, and for any kind of administration will take this into account. Let's have a look at Singapore, a nation that is very well dependent on Malaysia for its fresh water, but they have changed their ways. They have generated electricity on the water bodies of Singapore. They had created floating solar panel cities in which electricity is being generated. That is one step. Another include an offshore island in which it decomposes the island's waste systems. I visited there as a school student. Way back when I was in school in Singapore, I saw how they had managed the waste of 5 million people. And they've done it so effectively that it does not have an ecological impact back into the environment. And of course, there is the Marina Barrage, a system that filters out water or salt water for the requirement and demand for the society. They do not need to go digging down 800 feet boreholes for fresh water. This is where Bangladesh is failing out. They are not looking for the existing innovation that people all over the world are already imposing so well to understand their citizens' needs. Actually, as Professor Rashid Alam was saying, they enjoy this power when they hold it, and they are all fighting for this power. But we, the general people, are continuously forgetting. We are the ones, every couple of years, we vote them into power, yet we are the very ones who are repressed by them every couple of years or so. So that is my final take on this issue.
One more question I have in my mind. I just want to do from my own curiosity. Could aftershocks or a larger quake in coming days trigger more serious disasters? And are communities prepared? Are we prepared?
No,
are we ready?
Not at all.
Not at all. People do not have enough awareness. You look at Western Turkey. There was a series earthquakes, the same location. Massive earthquake followed by a range of continuous earthquake. Every couple of minutes the ground was shaking. Thousands have been killed. And we people here still do not understand how it is connected. Of course, we are seeing a very new fault line happening in the Narshindi area. So one must definitely go there and understand how the movements are occurring.